We're going to start off really easy. I'm just going to have you explain to people who you are, what your background in law enforcement is.
Okay. Well, my name's Patrick Moody. I'm a Republican candidate for Sheriff of Rock Island County. As far as my background, I graduated from Rockridge High School. Right after high school, I went into the military, into the reserves and / National Guard. I completed my education at Blackhawk College. I ended up getting 3 associate degrees, and they were all in business. From there, while I was going to school, I got a security job on the riverboat, and it was paying the bills and stuff. And then from there, I got a job at the Henry County Sheriff's Department as a deputy sheriff, and that was in August of '92. So that's where I started my law enforcement career. Out there, you get hired as a deputy, but your primary assignment is working in the jail. So primarily, I was working corrections in the radio room as a dispatcher, but I would also get to do the road stuff as well. During my time when I was full-time with Henry County, I also took a part-time position with Kelowna, so I was doing both. And Kelowna, I was able to do more patrol stuff, which is what I really loved. And then from there, I eventually took a full-time position with Kelowna in '95. And from '95 to 2001, I worked for Kelowna PD. During my time there, I was promoted to sergeant after the cities merged. And my last 3 years there, not only was I working patrol, but I was handling all the felony investigations out there as well. From there, I got hired on Moline in January of 2001, and I spent my last 20 years with Moline PD and retired in July of 2020. Yeah. During my time with Moline, obviously I worked patrol, all different shifts. I was an instructor and a field training officer for at least half my career there. So, I was busy with all that, but there's a lot of other things I was obviously busy with too. My first discretionary assignment with Moline was a community-oriented policing unit, which was located in the Florciente neighborhood. We had a substation down there, and we were set down there because of all the gang problems that Moline was having down there. It went on for many, many years. And so there was always 2 people down there, and my partner and I was heavily involved with the community down there, and especially with the kids, where our efforts were to help break the cycle to where the kids that were growing up weren't going to be a repeat and do what their older brothers or uncles or dads were doing. So we had a lot of involvement with the kids down there, not to mention, being a gang expert and working with the gangs and stuff too. From there, I did that for 4 years, and then I was promoted to juvenile detective, and I did that for another 4 years. And during my assignment in juvenile investigations, I was assigned as a school resource officer for the Coolidge Alternative High School. So I was really, really busy with that. So not only was I, so involved with the school district, and especially with that school, but I still had to do the investigation stuff as well. During that time, I became an ALICE instructor, which was a new lockdown procedure that they were going to with the schools and stuff, based off all the school shootings and stuff. So I was teaching that throughout the Moline School District as well. From there, when I finally got out of that assignment and I made the first shift cut, which is, making first shift patrol and getting off at 2:30 every day, that was like a big thing. I went back to patrol, and my last 6 years, I was a field training officer, and I kind of was the lead FTO, so to speak, with training new officers, and I was extremely busy with that. I probably was in the passenger seat at least 6 months out of the year training new people. And then up to the point I retired.
So knowing all of that background, let's talk about the future that you want.
Yes.
If you win this election, what are some of your top priorities when it comes to Sheriff of Rock Island County?
Well, my experience is it's unique, is I bring something new to the table here, which is I've been working the front lines my entire career. And I think that's been kind of the missing piece when you look at administrators with departments, is that I was on the front lines. I was there doing the work the entire time, and not only was I doing that, I was very proactive too. So I'm bringing an enormous amount of law enforcement experience and real law enforcement, duties, so to speak, to the job. One of the biggest things when I was approached with this is that I knew that there was plenty of things that needed to be corrected or made better with the Sheriff's Department. I have a ton of friends that work for that Sheriff's Department, not only inside the jail, but on the road as well. And the biggest things, the biggest complaint is right now, especially with everything that's happened in the last couple of years, is morale. And I want to do things to make the department better that's going to add quality of life to the deputies and the correctional officers. One of those big tasks is that I want to deputize all the correctional officers inside the jail to where you're going to add value to their position. It's not unheard of. There's many sheriff's departments throughout the state to do it. I came from the Henry County Sheriff's Department, and they do it that way as well. And so by doing that, it allows them to have a little bit more authority when it comes to being inside the jail, to where they have arresting power inside the jail, where they can deal with the warrant stuff as well. One of the things that comes with that is I want to be able to create a transport team that's based off officers from the jail that handle that. Right now, the road deputies are so tied up with transports, and it takes so much of their time, it leaves little time for them to be out there patrolling like they should be and covering the county area. And so I think we can alleviate that and take a lot of that away and put it on a team inside the jail, and it'll save money as well. So I want to do that, and then there's plenty of other things that can be done as well. Like right now, the Sheriff's Department, as far as the road, they have absolutely the worst work schedule that I'm aware of in the Quad City area. They work off of a 6-2 rotation, and they're constantly having to work 6 days in a row. And there's other schedules out there that are far better. I came from Kelowna and Moline, where we worked a 5-2, 5-3 schedule. And by doing that, it adds an extra 18 days off a year that an officer gets by switching to that from what there is right there right now. And that even can be applied to the people in the jail as well. From what I'm seeing, the numbers that's been given to me, it can be done. And I just think that would be incredible if that could be added to the situation there. And there's little things too that you can make, the job more attractive for inside there. I know the guys have been complaining for a long time about a uniform change, and for whatever reason it gets to the top, it sits on the table and it doesn't get done. Those are things to me to where if the consensus is that that's what they want and it makes sense, then why not do it? Especially when you're going to make the people that are working for you happier by doing that.
Well, so, a lot of that, like morale boosting,
it's important.
That goes along with one of the biggest challenges facing the Sheriff's Department is staffing.
Yes.
What other avenues do you have to help increase staffing?
Well, those are the things. If you fix those things and you make the job more attractive and you bring in a new schedule and you bring in better uniforms, facial hair. I know it's something that, other departments like from Henry County and other agencies, they don't have a problem with facial hair. They have certain policies that are set up in such a way where you can wear a beard or a goatee and it still looks professional. And it's not allowed, at the Sheriff's Department, but it's not allowed with the other departments surrounding area either, like here in Rock Island County. So even if you added something like that, I just know when we did the No Shave November, the officers loved it, but unfortunately we only get to do that 1 month out of the year. So even adding little things like that, but you are correct. Everything is turned upside down in the last couple of years, and it all went from, in 2020, and it was the defund the police movement, and it's gotten so bad where now they're trying to pass a lot of these crime bills that are trying to get pushed through. The Safety Act is the big one, where it's just making it worse and no one wants to do the job. I can tell you when I came to Moline and I tested for Moline, it wasn't uncommon for 300 people to show up wanting to be a cop for testing. Now they can't even get 5 or 10 people to show up. It's terrible. No one wants to do it. And they have to be able to, they have to change things to bring more support to the profession, but they have to do other things to make it to where people are going to want to do the job again.
So what can you as sheriff do to help this? Because, you know, when we talk about the Safety Act,
Yes.
there's not a similar bill in Iowa, and yet Iowa is experiencing the same staffing issue problems as Illinois. So what ways can you as sheriff help tackle this problem?
I can assure you the biggest thing that's difference between Iowa and Illinois is the support factor. That is the big thing, is that Illinois has been losing a ton of cops because the support, they don't feel like the support is there. Now granted, a lot of these crime bills that are trying to be pushed through come from the Chicago area or Springfield or whatever, but we're all completely affected by it. So, you know, that is the big thing. So what I want to be able to do is that everybody knows me as a cop's cop. Okay, I love people. I love building relationships with the public, but I'm a cop's cop and everybody knows that. And so if I get elected here, I want to be able to use that platform in such a way where everybody knows that I'm going to support the profession and I'm going to put myself out there in such a way to build better relationships with the public, where the public understands where we come from and we do what we do and why we do it, where there's more transparency. That platform has not been used in a way that it should for the longest time, and I want to be able to change that. And that even goes into you know, my connections or relationship with the state's attorney's office. There's things they got to do on their end and make things better too. And if they do that, it's going to bring more support to the law enforcement profession. And so that is key. And so I'm willing to put myself out there to do that. And everybody's going to know that.
That was going to be one of my questions is when
Sure.
it comes to working with county officials, with the state's attorney's office, what do you bring to the table to help facilitate that relationship?
Well, like I said before, I've been on the front lines. I've been a cop for almost 28 years, and most of my time was out there on the street, on the front lines. So I know what's needed and what's went wrong and what needs to be improved. I mean, right now, little things like this to where, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff going on out there as far as the criminals have been emboldened, they've been empowered. So I don't know if you even caught on, but like even the last week and a half, you see where there's been like over a dozen officers that have been shot and half of them have been killed just in the last week, to where—
We're not talking in the Quad City area, right?
Not in the Quad City area, throughout the nation, yes. But it goes even to where here in the Quad Cities where we still have so many people out there, offenders and suspects, that are resisting police officers when they're being placed under arrest, where they're not being compliant and they're being non-compliant. And it's putting officers in more jeopardy, more chance of getting hurt, more chance of getting caught up in a bad situation. And you're still seeing the state's attorney's office not treating these charges like they should, and a lot of them are getting dismissed, which that really bothers me, because when you have someone that's active resistor, when they've been told they're under arrest and they're actively resisting, and you have it on body cam, you shouldn't be dismissing those charges. And if you keep doing that, it's going to continue to be a bigger problem. It's going to make the job as a police officer even more difficult. So those are the things that I would like to see get rectified, to get fixed, and made better. And I'm definitely going to use my position in such a way to make sure that that happens.
Sheriff Bustos has been in office since 2014, and you've talked a lot about the change that's coming, whether it be you or your opponent, and how different it's going to be from the status quo. You've also talked about bringing a conservative voice to this office. Explain what you mean by that.
A conservative voice is just like what I just got into, is that we need the state's attorney's office. I know their job is extremely difficult and they have so much caseload that comes through. But if your plea bargains aren't working and it actually creates more crime out there, something needs to change. And so I think the plea bargains need to change a little bit. I definitely think they need to handle cases when it involves a police officer being assaulted or battered. I think that needs to be handled differently. Definitely when there's people out there resisting a police officer. So when I say I'm going to bring a more conservative voice, it's going to go against the grain what currently has been going on for so long in Rock Island County. I can just tell you, and I hate to say this, but you can be a police officer in a big city here in Rock Island County, say for Rock Island or Moline PD, and you can be out there on the streets working for 10 years and never see the courtroom. There's a problem with that. Okay, so it's telling me that the plea bargains are maybe too good of a plea bargain, because if you're a proactive cop and you're never seeing the courtroom, there's something wrong with that. I came from Henry County, and I was very proactive out there, especially with my days in Kelowna, and I was in court every single week. Now, I don't want it to be where everybody's in court all the time, but we have to make people more accountable for what they're doing, because if we don't, we're going to see more habitual criminals out there, we're going to see more violent crimes out there, and it's just going to keep going in that direction. Right now, I think they have over 20 people sitting in the Rockland County Jail that are facing murder charges. So, you know, we have to be a little more stern with what's going on. And I think if they work that angle and they go with that approach, I think things are going to improve, because if they don't, it makes the job as a cop a lot harder. It's going to bring in more caseload for the state attorney's office anyway, so it's going to make their jobs harder. Okay, so if that means we have to fill up the jails a little bit more here until things get better, then that's probably what needs to be done.
When it comes to citizens watching at home, you know, who aren't cops, maybe don't have a police officer in their family, what can you tell them about things that might change if you're elected?
Well, I've also known for my ability to connect with the public, and I have done that through my community-oriented policing. You know, I was so heavily involved with the public when it came to all that, and I think that part, when we get a little bit away from that, that creates problems too. It's like, even in our time in the West End, when we were down there for years. Well, we did so well, the problems went away, and so what do? They lift the units and they remove them. Or when we were over in Springbrook, we were over there for a long time, and they yanked the program because everything got so much better. But community-oriented policing definitely works. And I would love to see that incorporated even with the Sheriff's Department when they're working these small towns like Andalusia, for instance, or Carbon Cliff, where the officers are more interacting with the kids and into the schools. I think that's going to change. So those things are really important to me. I was also known, you know, like one of the big things when I went back to patrol, one of the things I think that you see police departments doing a much better job with is that they're definitely using their social media in such a way where they're connecting with the public better and they're sharing all the good stuff. We were really not good at that at one time. We weren't sharing all the good stuff we were doing with the public, and so they weren't really aware of it. They thought we were just out there writing tickets and arresting people, but the job was so much more than that. So I think they're doing a wonderful job with that. The Sheriff's Department, if I'm elected, I'm definitely going to use social media in such a way that it's going to definitely build more connections and better connections with the public. And I want to be, more involved with the city departments too, to where, you got some of these crimes that are going on. For instance, with the juvenile crimes, a lot has to do with like stolen vehicles. Well, the sheriff has the opportunity and he has the authority where he can deputize officers from other departments. And that's one of the things where he could do too, if I was elected, to where I can deputize officers from all the area departments, create a team where they can go out and deal with certain crimes that are getting out of control, where they can work as a team to deal with that, like drug interdiction or stolen vehicles or stuff like that. So I'm so open-minded to doing things differently and for change, but knowing that good things can come from that. So I'm gonna definitely, that's gonna be my approach, do that. And then, I started on a small scale to where when I went back to patrol out of investigations, I wanted to do one act of kindness, a big act once a year. And it started off where I helped a homeless guy. And it was a guy that I really liked to Moline. We never got calls of service on him. He was a good dude. And, I surprised him on Christmas Eve morning with a care package, which was with a new coat and boots and all that kind of stuff. And I shared it on social media. And it was done in such a way to encourage other people. If you can do something nice and someone can't return the favor, then just do it. And so the following year, I went to an accident scene and a lady crashed her car and it was totaled, and I surprised her the following day with a new car. Well, I was just going to share that on social media again and to encourage other people to do nice things. and the department got a hold of it a few hours away from me giving a car away, and they pleaded with me to share this or allow the media to share it because we needed a good story at that point because we were getting beat down so bad, law enforcement was. And so I agreed to let it be shared, and it turned into something so much bigger. What I learned from that is that the public wants to be involved. They want to help. I had so many businesses reaching out to me wanting to donate to me continuing to give away cars. And I had banks that were reaching out to me wanting to do the same thing. And I didn't take any of that. I did team up with a bank, and we ended up doing like 6 or 7 more car giveaways. And it was really easy. And I'm just like, there's so many neat things that could be done that we could connect with the public. And that was all based off calls of service, to where I would go to a call and a guy's car would burn up in the hospital parking lot, and the next day you're surprised on what the vehicle, because they had no means to get a vehicle. And so I'm open-minded enough to even know that so many great things can happen that way as well, and I want to incorporate some of that stuff too if I get elected.
Wrapping up, what do you view is the responsibility of the sheriff's position?
Well, the sheriff's position, there's a lot of responsibility there, but the sheriff is elected by the people, so you are working for the people. And I think the platform needs to be made or used in such a way that you are truly being transparent with the people, and you're communicating with the people, and you're letting them know what's going on. And if something pops up and it doesn't make sense, you get out there in front of it and you explain it, because not only you're going to make your department better and it's going to be better for them, but you're going to make it better for all the area police departments as well. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that job, and I know it, even with the budget concerns and stuff like that too. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do an awesome job if I get elected. There's no doubt in my mind.
And finally, let's say that November 8th does not go your way. Would you support your opponent in this process?
Oh, absolutely. I want the Sheriff's Department to be successful no matter what. The law enforcement family is my extended family, so even though that I'm retired, and I've been retired 2 years from it, win or lose, I want the best for all of them. And that includes my opponent if for whatever reason he wins, yes. Yeah.